Okay, hi guys. I'm going to teach you a secret thing called funnel seeding. And before I go deep into this, I'm going to start with a beginner explanation of it. Why? Because some of you are brand new and some are more advanced. So I actually rewrote this. I've got all my notes here so I could talk to beginners and people who are a little bit more advanced. And why? Because I don't want to lose you in the first 5 minutes of this. So let me explain this in simple terms, and then I'm going to show you like some layers of this. So stay with me because this is like absolutely gold if you want to have an online business. And by the end of this session, you will never post randomly again. Right. So funnel seeding, it's how can I explain it? It's a marketing like strategically like content planning and where people will naturally like they'll they'll launch it if they're ever going to like have a purchase, and instead of just like running ads, what you're doing is like you're placing things. Some people use influencer posts, reviews, customer testimonials, and they'll put these things maybe at different stages across all social medias, and and people might have never heard it before, and then they're thinking, oh, I'm going to buy that. Has anybody ever been in the street and they've like maybe like walked or been at a bus stop to wait in the bus and they've seen an advert of a new movie or a new product? Anybody ever seen the adverts? Hands up. Yep, me. And then you might have went somewhere and you could be driving in the street and then you've seen another big billboard with the same thing. Yep, anybody see it? And then somewhere else you see the same thing. So what they've done, they've kind of dropped like seeds. And think of it like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs for your customer. And for the people who are actually in my academy, you understand I've taught you about leaving breadcrumbs all over the place before you ever went to do an ad. And this is for people who work it organically. So instead of just shouting, buy my product, you have like little pieces of like positive information where people naturally find them. And so think about it like this. Think first breadcrumbs. People call it like the top of the funnel. It's just the top of the word sequencing. Okay. Someone might see, you see online a cool influencer that they follow, and then they might say a post about this product. They weren't looking for it, but they know it exists because they've seen it somewhere. And then somebody's selling this product and it might be in the middle. So later, when they feel a little bit curious, they might Google this product. And then the final one is when they choose to buy this. Okay, so everybody always needs to be like, you need to be aware, basically, that it's there. So think about it. You're getting ready. The best way for me to explain this to you is you're getting ready to have a big party or a product launch. Who's ever organized a party? Type me in the chat if you have ever organized a party. Okay, so did you just organize the party? And like you wouldn't just send one text about that party. It's like a wedding. You wouldn't just like send one text about the party. So think about it like this. You expect people to turn up to your party. And I want you to think of people who launch things online. And people call it like launch sequencing. And they sell all different ways. But really it's called funnel seeding. Okay. Has anybody ever heard of funnel seeding? Type yes or no into the chat. I'm really curious. Has anybody heard of funnel seeding? Christina said no, Candice no, Leslie no, Lindsay no, John no, Hannah no, Diane. Oh, Diane's like, my goodness. So that just shows you, okay, nobody's heard of funnel seeding. And like every time, all my time working for the gurus, everything was seeded, everything was programmed, and especially launches. And we used to do a lot of them. So this is going to be really interesting for you because think of like a 2 week launch, okay? You're going to have like the daily warm up with Facebook stories. This is your first casual touch point of the day. It might be a teaser. Stories are very quick and informal, and they can disappear in 24 hours. And they're perfect for saying to somebody, hey, you remember me? I've got something cool to show you later on today. So what that does is, if you do that with a story, it warms up the algorithm, right? In real life, we used to do this with the nightclubs the week before, or the restaurants the week before, or we used to leverage somebody else's audience or event, depending whether we were sending people to one of the online businesses, the villas, or the yachts, or the restaurants, or the bars. Everything I did, people say, my God, Nicola, how did you generate 27.5 million? It's actually a bit more. I actually did a count, and that's where that figure got. It was easy not to count anymore. But everything was done through a system. So imagine, let me talk about online and not face to face, because each face to face business is totally different. It's different programming. But online, right? If you warmed up, then the algorithm would say, oh, your audience is interested in this little story post. And then if you then done another little post or a poll, it said, oh, which colour do you like for the party? Okay. So which colour would you like for the party? I used to do this with my wedding business. I used to ask questions about their wedding and colour patterns online on the social medias to train the algorithms. And I was doing this 15 years ago because I understood how this worked, and I understood quite quickly how all this was going on. So stay with me. Party or a launch sequence, right? If you were posting and having like little trails of breadcrumbs all the way along, and you might be posting 2 or 3 times a day. You might post one in the morning, and that could be like your why post. This could be about, so imagine this, post in the morning and you did your why post. So the problem your product solves. Okay. You're not selling yet, you're building a connection. So for example, if you're launching a new planner, you would say, this post could be about the stress of being disorganized. So people would relate to that. And then in the afternoon post, so you could do the why post, you can do a how post. And this is a sneak peek. If you start introducing your product as a solution, using the planner example, you could then post one of like the unique pages that show how you plan things on Excel, right? And then in the evening, you could post the who post. So you've got the why, you've got the how, you've got the who post. And this post, like, it builds trust. So it could be a testimonial from a test user, or by the time your 2 weeks is up doing this, if you think about it, your audience, they've been warmed up every single day. So they understand the problem, they've seen the solution is there, your product, and they trust you. So when you finally post, it's here, the launch is here, they're not just ready to buy from you, they're excited, and that's the power of funnel seeding. So we've done the why, we've done like in the morning, like the why post, and then in the afternoon it's like the how post. Here's a little peek of this, and then the evening, well, I'm talking to you. So you imagine seeing, can somebody imagine when they launch anything, a Netflix, something in the cinema, a new product, a new drink, like anything. I remember the Diet Coke advert. Everything was about the sexy man coming up, cleaning the windows, and it was like the Diet Coke break. But everything was about, oh, why you need this, and a little sneak peek of what it would be like. And then I'm talking to you, ladies, all yous in the office at work. So by the time the stuff went on the shelf, it flew off. Hands up, guys, because I can still see you. Does this make sense at this moment in time? Right? Type yes into the chat if you understand up until now, I have engineered the brains. Yes, yes. John, yes. Okay. So up until now, perfect. You understand I've engineered the brains, okay? And just so you know, guys, I am actually going to give you the prompt to do this. Just I wanted to teach you first, and then I'm going to give you something you can just copy and paste, and it can change your life forever. Does that sound good? Yeah, good deal. Everybody's like, no, cool. I know you'd like that one. So let me just go up in my notes here. I want to break down exactly also how I filled my last retreat. And I'll be very, very honest with you. I'm not going into loads into this because I'm doing some business stuff with Rachel, who some of you, because I'm teaching this live at the moment in the academy, she's opening a retreat wealth academy, and I'm helping do lots of stuff with that because uh, literally we actually used to be in competition in Scotland and I won. Okay, so to end up doing something with somebody you were in competition with is quite cool. Some of you did anybody know that? No? No? So let me just tell you something because I need to explain this. I I call it like stop, look, listen. And guys, just so you know, I'm also going to give you my whole private notes. What you see me referencing to it, I'm giving you the whole lot. So I call it my stop, look, and listen method, right? And I'm going to share this page with you. And I'm going to tell you something sneaky as well. So why am I telling you this right now? Right now, I have shared my Google Drive, and I'm going to tell you here, all right, everyone, this is what I want to say. I want to break down exactly how I filled my last retreat. I called it stop, look, listen. First, you have to make a stop. You can't call to someone who's just scrolling. So I didn't just post, come to my retreat. My first goal was to make you stop your scroll with a question or statement that hit home. I post things like, so here I am sharing my Google Drive. And I'm engineering a whole other thing for the future because I'm teaching this now in my academy, but there's many of you who are going to be watching this from a purchased digital download. And I want you to protect your things. At this moment, can everybody read the top of my screen? What is the first word? Type into the chat on this document I have open right now. Type into the chat if you can see. Let me just say, yeah, copy. Copy. Okay, perfect. So you can see the word copy here. So what have I done? I have two versions of this, right? I have the version that everybody in the academy can get access to anywhere. I also have the version that I can teach the videos from. So this video is probably going to go out for a very low ticket price. But all that PDFs, all the worksheets, all the workbooks, all the prompts, everything that's going to come from this video is another price in the low ticket world. Does that make sense? Because if you split up what I have in the academy just now, if I sold it all separately, oh my goodness, not even the new stuff had come in. We're like over 10,000, something like that. But something really important, let me just share this one more time. The reason I'm teaching from a copy, because it's called copy, but it lives, let me go here, it lives in my private folder, which is a password protected folder. So if I'm teaching something from a password protected folder, if somebody copies, screen grabs that, they can never open this document. Does that make sense? So that's something really important. And the reason I've said this is because there's people who are going to be watching this who have probably just tried it 2 minutes ago, who going to purchase this one day, and that's you. But I'm teaching this in the academy and I'm being really honest. So I'm protecting what I want to share and what I don't want to share if it's on Google. Make sense, guys? Anything I'm going to share on screen must come from my saved protected folder. Okay? Just to safeguard your stuff. So let me carry on here. So what I used to do is I used to say to people, when I used to funnel seed the retreat, I used to put posts up like, when was the last time you felt completely rested, feeling like you're running on empty? I know that feeling. So, but let me just show you my notes here because it's really important you say this, right? So I would say when you're feeling rested or feeling like you're running on empty, I know that feeling. So let me just put this down a bit. So the only job of this post here is to get them to pause, stop. Does that make sense, guys? Type yes in the chat if that makes sense. Okay, yep, perfect. Yes, okay. So I just want them to stop. People call it like the hook, but there's a little bit more deeper before that. The ones in my academy know that. So next, you invite them to look. So if I've got somebody to stop, you invite them to look, right? So now I had your attention, I need you to look a little bit closer. And this is where I would share stories of weeks. I invited you to look at my journey with burnout struggles. I'd share experiences. I was building a real connection. I was showing you that I understood where you were because I had been in the exact same spot. So all I did was stop people and be human. I found multiple ways of using my own life experience to be human while selling my business, promoting my business. Does that make sense? Hands up, type yes. Makes sense. Perfect. In this world, they call it an origin story. But you can use yourself in everything. Okay? And this is when it's so easy to be human. So let me carry on and share some stuff here. So finally, you ask them to listen. So once you've earned their attention and trust, you can finally ask them to listen to an invitation. So this is a final breadcrumb. But even then, I didn't ask you to listen to a big, expensive sales pitch. I made it easy, step by step. So I used to say, like, I put together a free guide on 5 simple ways to reclaim your energy. Do you want me to send it? Or, guys, I'm hosting a free workshop next week. Do you want the link? I love being human. Human works. AI is great. Honestly, I can't. It's off the scale amazing. But you still need to be human because there are humans that are going to buy from you. So when you put in that human element, this is where it works. Now, let me share a little bit more here so you can see. So that freebie was the offer I wanted you to listen to. It was a simple, high value action to take, and it delivered on the promise of my stories and naturally guided the most interested people towards leaning more in about my retreat. So by the time I officially opened my doors, you weren't cold people. You were a community that was ready to stop, look, and listen. And this is where I'm going to go in and teach the class on funnel seeding and how business actually works. Okay, so let's now come back in and I'm going to go through like funnel seeding, how a business actually works, and I'm going to show you that posting is not about engagement. People call it funnels, it's just word sequencing, and it doesn't start when the shopping cart opens. It literally starts the minute you decide to have an online business.